I've decided because I checked this morning and there's not going to be a frost now, it's predicted. So I'm just going to get these all out because if you can see here, don't know if you can see that, it's my first flower on my tomatoes. These are my January sown tomatoes, so I thought, you know what, I've got quite a few tomatoes growing, so I'm just going to chance it because they really need to be outside and thriving now, and they're struggling inside. So I've got 6 tomatoes I'm going to put out. Some are yellow and some are super steak beef tomatoes. So these are really big ones. I think I've got 2 super steak and the rest are yellow tomatoes. This one's already got a flower on. I've got a super steak here with a huge flower on. And actually you can already see suckers coming off here. So I'm just going to take them off while I see them. And then I'll come back and cane these properly, but I'm literally just rushing out the house, trying to get these in, give the allotment a good watering and then head back to the kids and Daddy. It's Daddy's day off today, so I'm taking the opportunity to get a load of stuff out that I can. So I've got to be really careful because I'm going to break this. And then, so what I've got in here, I'm doing a companion bed here, so I've already got garlic around the outside. I've got some Egyptian walking onions on here. I'll give you a close-up in a minute. I've got 3 rows of carrots that have been really sporadic in germination, hence why I'm filling the gaps with the tomatoes. And garlic and carrots are a good companion for tomatoes, so I've decided to dot just a couple of plants in here and then I'm going to dot some around because here I've got onions, carrots again in here, so I'm going to put a couple in there, a couple in here, and creating a couple of companion beds. So I'm going to also, I bought some shop bought basil, which is also a companion, so I'm going to bring that into the beds as well as a companion for the tomatoes. So tangled these all up in my mushroom tray. Don't know whether you can see here that huge flower right here. Got a huge flower there. So that's the first super steak coming in. So I just noticed that my neighbour had been behind me that whole time. So I became a little bit shy. But as you can see, I'm dotting in these tomatoes here. And this is a bit of intuitive gardening here because I hadn't planned anything. I'd just taken a few of my plants with me from home and decided they just needed to go out. So I have got a ton more tomatoes growing at different stages, but these are just beasts now. They're so desperate to go outside, so I'm hoping they're okay, but if they're not, it will be really disappointing. But I have got lots more at appropriate stages, so I won't miss out on a tomato harvest. But tomatoes are one of my favourite crops, so I love to grow lots of tomatoes and make different passatas and sauces for curries and things. and I tend to just cook them off as a huge sauce and put them in the freezer. But when I was leaving, they did look very sorry for themselves, but I gave them a really thorough soaking, so I'm hoping that the water will bring them back to life a little bit. But we shall see. But like I said, there isn't any frost predicted now. No doubt there will be a frost, but I'm kind of just experimenting and testing things out, because I've actually been quite lucky. I've always grown my tomatoes in January. But I haven't done a companion bed before, and this is the first time I am doing a companion bed. And you can see I'm doing intuitive gardening here because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going back and forth looking for things that I need because I realise I need something. And I didn't actually get to do all that I wanted to do. It was actually really hot while I was doing this. And there's a construction site behind me, so it was really, really noisy and irritating me. So I just got in what I could. But here, you see, I bought some shop-bought basil, which is also a companion for tomatoes. So I literally just took it apart, put it into 4
also going to dot in some gigantic pumpkin, see if we can do anything.
So in this bed that I'm working on, this is on the outside 2 rows of red onion all the way round. And then in the middle I did 3 rows of carrots, but the carrots have been really patchy in germination. So what I'm doing here is then in those patches I'm popping in the tomato plants. And I think I've put 2 in this bed here. I've also put at the edge a giant squash plant, giant Atlantic squash, and I've directed it so that it goes over and across my pathways. So I'm growing them in the beds, but I've directed them to go over the mulched pathways, the wood chip pathways. So the foliage will cover the pathways, and it's a way that I'm trying to extend my growing area. So rather than take over a whole bed just to do squash, I'm doing them on the edge of the beds and using the pathway areas so that the pathways are not dead spaces. Now I also added in this bed 2 lots of basil, and then I added some well, I dotted around some tajit seeds, so hopefully they will come up. And then that's a perfectly planted companion bed. I won't put anything else in there now. So a very quick planting of the tomato beds this morning. Thanks for joining me, everyone. Happy gardening.